Hi everyone, I'm Claire from Cult Pens. Hopefully you can see us both. This is Judith, our presenter for today. Judith's going to be guiding us through how to create a Christmas card using the new Derwent Chromaflow pencils. Very excited, and I don't know about anyone else, but I'm in a slightly chilly part of South Devon today, so it's feeling quite wintry and quite festive, which is good, so very topical. Judith, if you'd like to go and get your camera set up, I'll just cover off a little bit of housekeeping whilst you're doing that.
Okay.
So whilst Judith's getting ready, just a few bits of housekeeping to highlight. So we anticipate this session is going to last around 45 minutes to an hour. Hello. Hi, Andrew. Lovely to see you. So yeah, I think we're going to last about 45 minutes to an hour. So make yourselves comfy, please. As usual, we are recording the session and we will make the recording available early next week. So if you do miss anything, you will get a chance to have another look. So please don't worry too much, but also do feel free to ask questions if you do miss something and you want to check any details. All your cameras and sound are switched off for the duration of the session. But if you do have any questions, you can use the Q&A that's just below or the chat to ask anything. Lisa from Derwent is on hand to help me answer some questions. And we will also try and interrupt Judith very gently, of course, whilst she is presenting. And when we get to the end of the session, depending on how we're doing on time, we may have a little more time for some questions at the end, but we'll see how we go. So without further ado, if everyone is comfortable and ready, looks like Judith is, then I will switch our cameras over. And Judith, you all set?
Thank you very much.
There we are.
So thank you very much, everybody, for joining me this evening. So a couple of things for you to note with me is I fill you with lots of information. If I go too fast, it's really important that you tell me. So you have a chat function at the bottom of your screens. Normally, if you are on an iPad or a phone, I'm not sure where it is on a PC, but it's certainly there. You must put in that chat, Judith, slow down. There is no such thing as a silly question. If you want to ask it, you can guarantee there are 10 other people that want to ask the same thing. I've been doing this for 12 years. There are still questions that I ask most days. So you can guarantee there is no such thing as a silly question, and I would appreciate it and be really grateful if you could ask it. I may not know the answer, but I will certainly find it out for you. So we're going to be creating a Christmas card, and I know it's early, but the things are out in the shops already. Quite sad, really, isn't it? But it's really important to get a heads up on it because you may want to create your own cards. And if you think about it, we don't just always create one card. We may send 10 cards, 20 cards. And if you decide to do bespoke cards, you can sit there in an evening and you can be colouring them in. You can be designing them. So therefore, you need to have heads up now and start your Christmas cards now. Hence why we decided to do a Christmas workshop, even though it is only November, to give you time to create. The other thing is, you may do one and then decide to send them off to printers, get them copied and have your cards printed. Therefore, you still need time to do that. The pencils we're using this evening are the new Derwent Chromaflow pencils. They are lovely, lovely pencils to use because they're slightly different. Okay, why are they slightly different? When you get these pencils, you will notice they are slightly narrower to hold. They are lighter to hold. They are, what would I say, a lighter wood, almost like a balsa wood. They are really, really bright colours. They blend super easy. They're a really user-friendly pencil. They come in sets of 12 and 24. And the set we're using this evening is a set of 24 because I love colours. Paper we're using is the light fast paper. Now you can use any heavyweight cartridge paper. It doesn't have to be the Derwent light fast paper, but I always use a paper that can stand up. It's really important that when you're using anything for card making, that it is stiff enough. I'm just going to lift my camera up ever so slightly too close. There we go, that's better. Okay, it has to be stiff enough. Okay, what you don't want is a floppy card. We always used to make those in school, and we used to bring them home to our parents, and they'd be like paper. So you need a heavyweight cartridge paper. You need something of at least 220 GSM. When you're making your card, one of the tricks is when you're making your seam, get a ruler and just run a ruler with the curved side along the seam. Use the curved side of your ruler so you're not ripping the paper. We're going to finish this one off that I've started. A bit like Blue Peter, here's what I made earlier. But all I want you to do is find a round object in your kitchen or in your lounge for me. So quickly run off and go and find something. It could be a cup, it could be an egg cup, anything round. It doesn't matter what size it is. There's no rush. I can talk for a second while we do it. The other thing you need to have out is your eraser for any mistakes that we make, a pencil sharpener. On the list was a battery operated eraser. They really do like the battery operated eraser, but equally, they love a simple little eraser. All you need is a toolkit for colour pencil. It's what I call a toolkit. So you must have a simple little sharpener, an eraser, and your colour pencils. And that's your toolkit. If your colour pencils start to break, this is your problem, not the pencils. These little pencil sharpeners, or any pencil sharpener, was never meant to last forever. They were disposable items. We're being brought up in a society that we expect things to last forever, and that's not the case. These blades go blunt. They were not permanent items. When these blades go blunt, what happens is your pencils start to break, or they start to chew the wood. One way of discovering if your pencil sharpener has gone blunt is when your pencil shavings start to look like little tiny bits. That's time to get a new sharpener. You'll be surprised how often your sharpeners need replacing. Okay, so find a round object and simply draw around it. Don't press too hard. With colour pencil, it's important not to get too much graphite on your paper. When I'm drawing, I draw with an H pencil or an F, which stands for hard or fine. Now I've drawn mine harder than I normally would, so the camera picks it up. So you have a circle. Now if we're drawing a bauble, what we need is the object that we hang it from, the little hanging hook. So I want you to draw, don't forget you can turn your paper. 2 lines. Then we need to draw a curve. Now we draw a curve that matches this curve. We don't draw it straight. If we draw it straight, it's not going to be a 3-dimensional object. Won't look right. And then we're going to draw the hanging hook. Now, yes, okay, we're not going to be all artists. It doesn't matter if this hanging hook is wonky at all, because baubles get squiffed on a tree the amount of times we take them on and off. It's great if you can make it into a circle, but don't get caught up on making sure it is a circle. We're here about applying colour this evening. Now, by all means, if you wanted to put another circle, another bauble behind this to colour in later, you can. What you do is just go behind, but don't put your circle all the way over the top. So you're just putting it up to it. So I'll let you catch up with that for a minute.
Lovely, Judith. It's Claire. We've got a question already about the Chromaflow pencils,
Yes,
and
sure.
whether or not they're oil-based or waxed-based.
They're wax-based. The only oil-based pencil that Derwent does is the light fast range. So when you are not sure with Derwent what pencils are oil-based and what are wax-based, The only oil-based pencils Derwent do are Lightfast. Everything else is wax-based. And these have quite a lot of wax in them. That's what makes them blend so well, is they have a high wax quantity in them.
Fantastic. And part 2 of the question was, can you burnish these pencils?
Very much so. They are very much like Prismacolor pencils, and they burnish very, very well.
Great, fantastic.
Okay, so the next thing I want you to do is I want you to think about where your light source is going to be. Now, I don't want you to draw these lines. Think about where this is. So let's pick up our light source. So it's going to be here and here. If we have our light source coming from there. Okay, so this is going to be your highlighter and this one. So I want you to pick up your white pencil. Mine's a bit shorter now because I've been colouring all day. Colour pencil. One of the things that's very important is it has to be sharp. If it's not sharp, it doesn't get into what we call the grooves or the troughs and valleys of the paper. So your paper is made up of tiny little grooves. Why does colour pencil love a paper like this? Is the pigment gets into these troughs and valleys of the paper and you build it up. If you don't use a sharp pencil, what it does is it sits on top and it goes shiny instead, and you don't get the lots of lovely layers that you require. Now, the camera may struggle to pick up the white a little bit, but what I want you to do is I want you to choose an area. I'm just going to faintly draw a circle here, which I'm going to remove in a minute. Let's start with this one. We're just going to do one at a time. Can you pick up on that? Can you see that circle? Just about. Okay, so I'm going to fill this with white. I'm just going to lift it up to the camera. Okay, so there's a very, very pale outline. You don't need to do that outline. It's a guide for you. I want you to fill this really quite firmly. I want you to use what we call an elliptical pencil stroke. It's going round in ovals. I want you to fill this whole area. The reason why we do ovals is you're making sure you cover the whole area and you're not leaving any gaps. Then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to remove my graphite. Now I'm using the extendable eraser. I love this because you can put it in and out. And it means as well as if I want to get a straight edge, I just take a knife, a craft knife. I use the edge of it and I literally slice the end off and I can re-put on a lovely crisp edge on this eraser. So if you want to do crisp lines or edges for any project, just take a craft knife to the end. Okay, so this is why you remove graphite from colour pencil work, is colour pencil picks it back up. Now colour pencil is 98% removable. And you can erase it. So all you need to do is go back over it and erase it. It's far more forgiving than anything like watercolour, and then yet you can create the same effects. Now tonight I'm going to create an orangey red bauble, but I'm going to take the yellow, strangely enough. So I'm going to take the amber gold, which all Derwent pencils are numbered, except there's an anomaly to this. The Lightfast range aren't numbered. It's the only range that Derwent do that aren't numbered. Chromaflow, luckily, are numbered. I do like numbered pencils, much easier when you're teaching. I want you to very lightly, so you're just tickling, and it really is a tickle. With circular pencil strokes, I want you to go over ever so slightly, go round the outside of that white highlight, ever so slightly go around the outside. When you're using the circular pencil stroke again, and just shade round the outside in loops. probably about 0.5 centimetre. And then take it out a bit more. Why do we go in circles? If you go in straight lines, it stops becoming a 3-dimensional object and it becomes flat. It becomes 2-dimensional. Also, it helps push the pigment into the paper. But because we're building up the level of saturation and colour, you'll start to see this stripe appear. One of the nice things about Chromaflow is you can blend and you can burnish with them. Okay, so I want you to sharpen your white again. And this time we're going to reverse it and we're going to take from the white highlight and we're going to take it over this yellow. So we're reversing it. This time we're going white over yellow. So we're using the white as a blender. Now you can only do that with pencils that have an exceptionally high wax content. And that's what's lovely about Chromaflow pencils, is they have such a high wax content that you can use the white as a blender, which extends your colour range phenomenally. So you may only have what you think are 24 colours in your tin, but in actual fact, you have at least double. Let's go back to number 2, the amber gold. Let's start pulling it out again. Because you'll find, because you added white over the top, it's gone pale. So we need to pull it going outwards again. And you'll see that it's gone back to being a darker yellow. So it's about building it up, blending it, build another layer and blend it. It's important you take your time. Colour pencil is not something you can rush. Okay, so we have a slight line here. So we go back to our white and we just smooth. I have a word that perfectly suits these very waxy pencils. And when you're blending, you have to smush these layers together, these blended parts. You get to a level with the white where you're smushing the wax together. And it's not until you get to this smushing point that you know you have enough wax and pigment on the paper. And that's the point which you have to try and get to, is that smushing point. So you're working between 2 pencils. You're working between number 2, yellow, then you're going back to white. So you can see the smooth transition. And let's try it around this side as well. You will find you get one side much better than the other as you practice and as you learn. You have to overlap. What you don't want is halos. Halos are fine lines where colours join. You want to overlap your colours so you don't get those join lines. Okay, so go back between them. You'll see that I turn my pencil a quarter to a half turn every now and then. What I'm doing is I'm making sure I've got the sharpest point at all times, and it saves me sharpening this pencil. Wax pencils wear down quite quick. It's just the nature of the beast. By constantly rotating them in my hand, I'm reducing the need to sharpen them all the time. So I'm not having to waste pencil. So you'll see that I rotate them every few pencil strokes. And I'm still working in this elliptical stroke. To get this nice smooth blend. So how are you getting on? Are you all keeping up? Do shout if you're not keeping up. I can see there's a slight join line. So I'm going to smush it. There's that magic word. I'm going to smush it together. Okay, so I'm going to start thinking about my next colour. I'm not going to get rid of the white. I'm just putting it to the side. Because I know I want to get to this red at the bottom. So I need to put this orange in the middle. So let's put the dark red to the side. So I know I need to bring this orange down a little bit more. So I'm going to give it a sharpen. Chromaflow don't like their pencil point too long. For those of you with electrical pencil sharpeners, you can adjust the length of point. There's a little wheel, a little twiddly wheel at the back of your pencil sharpener at the bottom. You can adjust the length of your point. Chromaflow don't like them too long because the point is so soft. However, one of the nice things about Chromaflow is they are actually glued along the length of the core inside. One of the things with soft pencils, and one of the reasons why we invented Chromaflow, or Derwent invented Chromaflow, is there were complaints that soft pencils were breaking a lot. And when they were breaking a lot, the whole core was falling out inside. I mean, I've pulled the whole core of a pencil out before now, and I have very hot hands, which doesn't help. I can bend a whole pencil like a banana. It's terrible. I'm no good at making pastry. So the whole core was literally slipping out the pencil. So what Derwent have done is they've added glue points regularly throughout the pencil. If your pencil, if you've dropped it and the core has shattered inside, or if you're having problems with your pencil sharpener, if you carry on sharpening to the next glued point, it will resolve itself. It won't just, you won't waste a whole pencil. Now I'm going to move on to Flame 04. This time I'm going to go a little bit lighter. So I'm reducing my pressure a little bit. Okay, so this one I sharpened with a different pencil sharpener. I sharpened with one of those old school helical ones, and you'll see what I mean. That's got a broken point already. So all I do is just make sure when I'm sharpening, I make sure I hold my sharpener really, really firm. Sometimes it's if you twist your hand as you're sharpening, you actually break the pencil yourself by the leverage on your wrist. Pencil sharpening is an art form in itself, so I've broken it again. So what I've got to do is I've got to sharpen it to the next glued point. You just have to find the next glued point in the pencil. And that's one of the nice things about Chromaflow, is there is these glued points in them for a soft pencil.
Judith, you're obviously a sharpener fan. Do you have particular sharpeners that you use with particular pencils, particular ranges or types?
I do indeed. So for light fast, I actually either use the super point or a pastel sharpener. One of the reasons why I use a pastel sharpener is, or the super point, is light fast has a slightly wider barrel than all the other pencils. So it can be very difficult to get a pencil sharpener that fits light fast without ramming it in. So I either use the Derwent pastel sharpener, which is a little white kind of handheld one. I think it's only about £2, and they have a beautifully sharp blade on them. Or I use the Derwent super point. I just don't over sharpen it, because one of the things about Lightfast is, again, with Lightfast, the core is so soft. Sometimes the pencil sharpeners that have an auto stop mechanism don't pick up when the pencil is sharp, and you can be sharpening and sharpening and sharpening, and before you know it, half your pencil's gone because the auto stop hasn't picked up. So normally I do a few rounds, a few kind of goes round with the pencil sharpener and then check on it to see if it's sharp. With Pro Color, I only ever use the Super Point or the Super Point Mini. Pro Color needs a long, sharp point. That's what it's best with. With Coloursoft, it actually just likes the regular little pencil sharpeners. It does like the Super Point, but Coloursoft is such a soft core. It doesn't particularly like being too long, or it likes the battery operated pencil sharpeners, which were on the list today, because you can adjust the point lengths with those. And then with the pastel pencils, I only ever use the small pastel sharpener because it has a wider barrel on it, like the wider hole. I actually really love the little pastel sharpener. I think it's a little gem. I have more pencils and more pencil sharpeners than shoes. I was saying that to somebody today.
That was going to be my question. There's like confessions of a sharp fan. How many do you think you have? It's a safe space here. It's just you and I.
Pencil sharpeners. I know I have three Super Points. I have 2 Super Point Minis. I have 2 battery operated ones, because I actually lost one, bought another one, then found it, and then couldn't confess to everybody that I had found it. I have, oh no, I haven't. I've got 4, because I found one in rose gold as well online, and then I had to buy that one as well. So then I hid that in the cupboard for a while, so nobody saw that. It's now on a shelf. And I've got probably about 20 little handheld one. No, I've got another box of them. I probably have about 80 pencil sharpeners.
I'm just going to say this out loud and ask if anybody has anywhere near that in their collection. Please share with us on chat. Feels like there should be a whole discussion
shame the sharpener.
Yeah, confession.
Don't ask me how many pencils I've got. I mean,
well, that was
no. I think I've probably got an excess of probably 1,000 pencils. Probably. Easily. Okay. Easily. No, probably not near 2,000.
Impressive. I don't know that anyone is, if anyone is listening and confess to anything near that, please share.
I have drawers just made for my pencils, and they are in colour order as well. How awful is that?
Oh, I love that. By range, by colour?
By range and then by colour.
Yeah.
Yeah, by range and then by colour.
Just checking you weren't some kind of, crazy with your pencil.
Yeah, and then I have one for markers as well, which is, oh gosh, don't get me started. It's terrible. I have a garage, so I have a studio, and I took over the garage as well just to store my art stuff. It's a disease, I think. It's a sickness. It's a great one.
I'm not sure you're alone with that at all.
I don't think I am, because do you know how I know I'm not? Because there's companies that help me. There's companies that cater to my needs.
Yeah.
There's a company that makes drawers for me to put them in.
Oh wow.
And then yes, exactly. Then there's a company that makes labels for my drawers. So they obviously realized there was a need for it.
Wow.
There's somebody for everything. That's what I think. Then there was another company that made a rose gold pencil sharpener, you see. I mean, I needed a rose gold sharpener in my life.
Obviously.
There was. And then there was one that was in silver. So I obviously needed a silver pencil sharpener in my life, and a black one, matching. So what I've done is I've taken from the flame 4, there was too big a jump. So what you can do with these is go back to your amber gold number 2, and you can smush it. There's my smushing word again, over the top. I'll just steady the camera, I don't like camera shake. And you can be quite firm with this. So I'm quite heavy-handed, really quite heavy-handed. And you can smush it in. And it's when you've got that level of wax on the paper that you can get to that smushing point. If you don't have enough of the binder, which in this case is wax, with the pigment, and it doesn't start to get to that point where you can move it round, you haven't got enough on the paper. So you have to add a few more layers. You'll know when you've got it because you can literally almost move it. Now, I have my house quite warm when I'm doing colour pencil art. It does help. One of the other things you can do is, if you are in a cold house, one of the other things you can do is, if you have a wheat bag or hot water bottle, this is going to sound really silly, but a lot of people like to keep their houses cold. You might live in someone who needs to have their house cold. You might want to save your heating. You might live in a student house, any of those things, and they can affect how your pencil goes down. You can have a heat bag, or you can have a hot water bottle next to your pencils, and you can put them on. You can even put it under your pad of paper. And what it does is it melts and helps move your wax. And it smushes them so much easier. And you can experiment with leaving your hot water bottle under there or your heat pad under there for half an hour, and the difference is quite phenomenal. And that you can speed up your colour pencil work no end just with having that heat pad underneath, because what it does is it melts the wax. They sell specialist board for them, but the specialist heat boards are in the thousands of pounds, and all it is a heated back kind of wheat pad sandwiched between a piece of plastic. So you can just do it yourself with a microwavable bag.
And should you rub your pencils together between your hands to warm it up?
You can do, but what you must never do is microwave them. I have seen people microwave them, and I have seen people blow up microwaves, because what they forget is this writing here is metallic. It's metallic paint, and it sparks. And if you have an older microwave or a faulty microwave, especially the older versions, and you have a spark, it can finish your microwave off. And I have seen somebody blow it up, and there was black smoke billowing from it on a cruise ship, because they had been told that you could microwave pencils to remelt this core. You can't, because what it needs is heat. Now, you can put them very, very low in the oven. However, if you don't put them very, very low in the oven, you can melt the cores so much that they become almost like liquid wax, and it's not a nice thing. So what you're better off doing is just sitting them on top of a hot water bottle or a heat pad if your house is exceptionally cold. My daughter was ever so excited. She phoned me tonight and she said, I've just put the heating on. I've got it on 12 degrees. I said, I can't even, she's a student. I said, I can't even begin to think what that's like. That's horrible. I said, mine's on 20. I said, I just can't begin to think what 12 degrees feels like. That's just disgusting. And I thought, oh, I couldn't even work in that.
You definitely need to be warming up your pencils in a 12
I would have
degree.
to, I'd have my bed socks on, my pencils. I think I'd have to buy a onesie. I've never had a onesie in my life, but I think I would have one. Okay, so you can see here, this is what I mean when you don't have enough wax on the paper. This is why red pencils are notorious for being dry. Red pigment is a dry pigment. So to counteract it, they have to put extra binder in. But it can still be very, very hard to get the smushing point in with red pencils because the pigment just sucks up the binder. So you will need to make sure your pencil is super, super sharp. Keep rotating it. Push the pigment into the paper. It's going to feel so much drier than the pencils beforehand. And it is because it's a dry pigment. And it's something to do with red. Okay, so really push it in. Make sure you're rotating your pencil at all times. And you'll feel it's almost dusty, but it's not, it's grainy. Get right up to this edge. You'll notice I turned my hand. That's because I'm on camera. What you can do is turn your paper. The other thing to bear in mind with colour pencil is they're full of pigment. Be careful you don't get colour transference on your hand. What you can do is put a piece of glassine paper or a piece of tracing paper underneath your hand. Don't put kitchen roll underneath your hand. Kitchen roll has a grippy surface. So what it does is it grabs the pigment and it will actually move it around your paper. Okay, so now I'm starting to get enough pigment and wax onto the paper. I want to go back to the orange. Okay, it's too big a jump here.
You can really see the impact of that with the red now. You can really see the difference.
It does suddenly jump, doesn't it? So what we need to do is sharpen your orange. Now, do you remember we had problems with the orange before? We've now got to the glue point. I didn't even have to worry about sharpening that, and I didn't even think twice about it because we got to the glue point. Now, normally a wax pencil on the market where this sits. Okay, so this pencil is it's not so much an entry-level pencil, but it's an all-level pencil. It's not a professional level pencil. It's what we call an all-level pencil. So you can use it for artwork, you can use it for craft work. It's an all-level pencil. Normally, one of these levels of pencil on the market has that much wax in it, you get something called wax bloom. What wax bloom is the wax comes to the top of the surface and it can go white and cloudy. Chromaflow, that doesn't happen. They've designed it so you don't get wax bloom with these. However, if you're using colour pencil and you ever do get wax bloom, all you need to do is wipe it with a tissue and spray it with fixative. Never use hairspray. I know you would have been told over the years to use hairspray. Don't use hairspray. It yellows your artwork over time, so don't use hairspray. Work back through your pencils, make sure they're sharp. Okay, so I nearly cheated there, used a blunt one, and it started to go lumpy, so you can get wax lumps. If you do, just take a sharp pencil and just work it through. Go back to your white, make sure your white's sharp. And just use your white as a blender. Okay, so we said that we used white for the highlight. You could also use it as a blender. Just to blend any layers together. You must keep it sharp. So anything where you might have a bit of a lump or bump or a bit stripy, use a sharp white and blend it together. And just blow off any crumbs. Don't be tempted to sweep any crumbs with your hand because you will just smear them together.
Just having one of our participants saying how much they're loving it. and that they didn't know how to colour before. You're making that look very easy, Judith. It's amazing.
Well, that's good. That's good. Colouring should be fun. Apart from if you're my daughter. So I have one daughter who cannot draw for toffee, and I mean it. So I have 4 children. My first daughter is exceptional at art, except she's a solicitor, so that didn't really work out for me. My second daughter, you wouldn't rate her as an artist, to be perfectly honest. You'd probably say, thank you, that picture's lovely, and then put it in a drawer somewhere. My son is excellent at art. He's colourblind across every single spectrum. It was only when he came in, he said, can you please put something in the green bin? And he came back and he went, they're all brown. I said, well, they're not all brown. I do not have brown bins. And he said, they're all brown. I went, oh, no, that's why Peppa Pig was orange. Oh, dear. So he's excellent, but he cannot colour. Everything in his life is grey and brown. And then I have a daughter who, she seriously cannot draw. I mean, she cannot draw. There is nothing about her that has any artistic qualities whatsoever, to the point where it was that bad. I have to confess to doing her art homework one day. And
it's all about the confessions today.
It is. And then she got into trouble at school.
Judith, can you possibly just recap on the numbers of the pencils, the colours that you're using, because somebody's missed a colour?
I can. We have used for this bauble, we have started with white, which is 24. Then we went to amber gold, which is 2. Then we've gone to flame, which is 4. Then scarlet, which is 5. So those ones. So white 24, amber gold 2, flame 4, and scarlet 5.
Lovely.
And then what I think we'll do is we're going to do this top. For the top, I have chosen Golden Sun, which is 3, and Burnt Sienna 19. And I'm going to give those a sharpen. But basically, you want a light brown and a mid brown. Oh, perfect. So you have to kind of these 2 colours. Okay. Now, this is going to bend down. So we've got to look at where our highlight is. Our highlight is about here, because we're still creating a 3-dimensional object. So I'm going to take the light brown first. Now I'm going to shade these going downwards in stripes, because we're going to create texture. Make sure you get right to the top. Okay, so Chromaflow keep a point nicely, even though they are still a soft pencil, they keep a point nicely. So we're going to draw lines in a stripe. At that point, just leave a little bit that side and a larger bit that side. Don't forget to tell me to slow down if I've gone too fast for you. Then I'm taking Burnt Sienna, and Burnt Sienna is 19. And I'm going to draw these lines on the right side, but then I'm going to overlap slightly. There. So I'm not going to just join them up, I'm going to overlap slightly. And the same this side. Get right to the top. Then you can shade it in a bit more onto the left by keeping your pencil strokes closer together. Then go back to your golden sun. I'm just going to put a bit more golden sun just in the middle section. So you're going to see it goes dark, medium, light, medium, and then dark. Now I haven't got quite up to the top, and you can see that. You have to get right up to the top, otherwise we get this halo. So the halo is where I said to you, you just lack that little bit of confidence to get right up to the top of the line. And that can happen no matter what level you are. If you get anything outside the lines, don't forget your eraser. So your eraser is just a tool. And you can just tidy it up as you go along. And then if you think that your line's a bit messy, just go back over and just tighten up any lines. Okay, we're going to look at, don't forget the light source. So the light source is coming this way. So the lighter pencil is the top of the ring. Keep your pencil sharp. The darker pencil is from the bottom of the ring. And again from this side. And then go over them slightly. You can do that with both of them, just to get to that smushing point. Now you can increase the pressure just at the bottom, just to increase what we call the tonal value, which is making something deeper, something darker. Helps something look more three-dimensional. Can I have a time check, please, ladies?
It is 6:49 precisely, Judith.
How long do we have left?
Well, we said we'd be about 45 minutes to an hour, so I think another 5-10 minutes.
Okie dokie.
That's okay.
Perfect. Okay, so we drew a circle behind here, like a semicircle. One thing I want to cover with you is shadows going behind. So we can actually reverse our shadowing. So I'd like you to take, actually blues are easier to blend. So let's just swap these colors out. Blues are very, very creamy in pencils. They are a soft pigment. I would like you to, in your set, find a dark blue or denim 12 for me, please. Now with Chromaflow or any soft wax pencil, you can actually reverse your shading. You don't have to always shade light to dark. Yes, you can't do light over dark, but you can reverse your shading. So we know this is going behind. So we also know it's in shadow. When you're going behind something, I don't want you to try and draw it here. I want you to go into it. So I want you to draw into the bauble in front. If you try and draw over the top of the bauble, you're going to get a scraggy edge. You're not going to get this nice crisp line. Your eye can't see it properly. You're almost looking over your hand. you need to get this nice crisp line. Then you can start to make it thicker. And then you can see how crisp it suddenly gets. Blue is a colour that is so easy to lay down. Okay, so use elliptical strokes and just start pulling this colour out of it. Don't forget to rotate your pencil. Keep at the sharp point at all times.
So I've got a random question to ask you, Judith. As we're talking Christmas today, have you started any Christmas shopping yet?
Well, I have a terrible confession to make. Kind of.
Another.
Yes, kind of, but by accident. So last year, I was convinced I'd done my Christmas shopping. And then I thought I was going really stupid and having a thick moment because I couldn't find my Christmas shopping. I thought, oh, Judith, you've had a really stupid moment. I swear you did your Christmas shopping. So I thought, well, you must have been really stupid. So I redid my Christmas shopping. And then over the summer, I decided to have a big spring clean. And I looked under my bed. I found my Christmas shopping. So I did do my Christmas shopping last year. I did it twice. So theoretically, I did my Christmas shopping, but I did it last year. The only problem is it doesn't fit anyone.
So you're inadvertently very organised, maybe.
Yeah, kind of, because it now doesn't fit anybody, or nobody likes those things this year. It's like my youngest daughter, who I bought stuff from, has now decided she'd like to be an emo. So last year she was pink and fluffy. This year she's black and moody. So, you know, it's never going to work, is it? So Christmas shopping, yes, I kind of did it, but is it going to work? No, I think I might have to sell it on eBay and start again. Plus, you know, my son's never going to get into things now because he's taller than me. And at the time he was half the size. So, yeah, so a bit of a disaster. I couldn't believe it when I lifted my bed up and went, I thought I did my shopping. I do have these moments. I think I was an Amazon freak last year. I think that's what it was. I thought Amazon was my best friend. It occupied me.
It's easy to become a little bit of a hobby.
It was definitely my hobby.
Yeah, hopefully a little bit different this year. We can all get out and about a little bit more.
Can't find things I want. That's the problem. I don't know what I want anymore. I think I've forgotten how to shop. And I think a lot of, so when I go into, and I mean this genuinely, so I do a lot of demonstrations in art shops. And I think people have forgotten how to shop. And I think people have forgotten what they like. And that's why I firmly believe in having a go with art materials as well. And I know that's digressing a bit. But that's why I firmly believe in having a go with pencils, and any art supplies, have a go with paint. Because we can all go out there and say, I want to have a go at this and I want to do that. But I've bought so much stuff over the years that I've never used. And I think now we've learned to, well, I've forgotten how to shop. I certainly have. And I see people now going into art stores and they either walk out without getting anything, or they buy lots because they don't know what they want anymore. So I would certainly buy art supplies, buy paint, buy the tube or buy the pencil, buy a small set. These are a perfect size actually, because you're not buying too many. Okay, so I've just changed to blue 13. So Chromaflow, perfect size, because you're only buying 24 of them and you're not buying a whole set of like 40, just to see if you actually like wax-based pencils. And you can buy a small sketchbook. They're a nice little kit actually. for something like that. And it's like when I buy watercolor paint now, I don't buy the massive sets because you can mix your own colors just to see if I like the feel of them, because I could open a whole shop. I mean, look at me with my 80 pencil sharpeners. I don't use them all. That would make me wonder.
That would be a great shop.
It would be a great shop. I could actually probably open a, you know how you have a soup kitchen? I could probably open an art shop, an art supply place for people for art supplies. It would be quite good, actually. Okay, so now what I want you to do is go over your dark blue. You can be quite firm with this. Blue is really forgiving. You can smush it and squish it. That's why I prefer blue over greens or anything like that. If you have to do something fast, always go for blue. So if you have to make somebody a card or a picture fast, go for blue. Avoid greens. Greens can be an absolute nightmare to blend fast. So if you want to create a picture, go for a seascape, don't go for a landscape. The other thing about greens is our brain does not like green art supplies. For some reason, we try and tone the green down. If you actually look outside, the green is lurid and bright. The grass is bright green. Yet for some reason, when we're using them, we try and tone it down. And I don't know why we do it, but we do. So the best thing you can do is either try and create your own green with blue and yellow to try and negate our brain doing that, or just go for something like a seascape if you've got to do something quickly, because blue lays down really nicely. Then go for light blue. Now light blue is number 14 in Chromaflow. Use loops over the top to pull these colours together. Again, you can be really quite heavy-handed.
And Judith, we're just coming up to 7 o'clock, so I know you're just finishing off that.
Okie dokie.
Just letting you know.
And you can, as you get to this bit, really ease off, really, really gently, just so you're tickling the paper. And that's when you can get your white out. Okay, so white is 24. You can really go for it with white. Use white as your blender. And then go between your white and your pale blue, just to even it out. Now, I'm rushing a bit here. You can take your time on this in your own time. But what you want to do is work between these two pencils, just like you did on your other one, just to get these lines super smooth and blended, so you don't get these stripes. Now, by the time you've finished, you can add in a ribbon, you can add one behind, you can stack them up, and you can put as many as you like in. You can personalize them. It's something you can do sat in front of the television at home. You can sit at the kitchen table. So a nice thing about color pencils is they don't make a mess. You're not going to knock them over. You've not got water you've got to think about. And you can just put them away at the end of the evening or in the morning, and you haven't got a lot of space to worry about. Is there any questions before we finish for the evening that you haven't asked or that you've thought of? If you want to share your work for this evening, there is a hashtag for social media, for Instagram. If you could use hashtag #CultPensCreative, we would love to see what you create.
Love it, Judith. You're doing my job for me, which is fantastic.
Thank
you very much. I
I
love it, and I definitely can't do your job for you. That is for sure. That looks fantastic, brilliant as ever, Judith. And you are also completely mesmerising to listen to.
Donkey me.
I love it. Very relaxing, and the layering of the pencil is incredible. I love the 3D effect that creates. You make that look so easy. Also quite enjoyed new colouring terms I've learned today. Smush and tickle found its way in early on, which I particularly enjoyed. So thank you very much for those. But thank you as ever for the workshop. Fantastic.
You're more than welcome.
No problem. Thank you so much. And so for everybody else, if you haven't seen, we've shared a code in the invitation, so you can get your Chromaflow pencils. We have them on the website in sets of 12 and 24, but I will reshare that after the workshop, so to all of you who signed up, so you will have that if you would like to go and get yourself some Chromaflow pencils and you didn't get them in advance. If you have been drawing along with Judith, colouring along with Judith today, we would love to see your creations. So as Judith's already done, please share them with us. If you use hashtag #CultPensCreative, all one word, we'll be able to find them. And if you have any further questions at all, you can get in touch with us at sales@cultpens. Just go onto the website and use the contact us, and we will follow up, and we'll obviously get in touch with Judith or anyone at Derwent if you have any specific questions for them as well. So as I've already mentioned, we've recorded the session. So if you have missed anything, you will be able to go over this again. Hopefully we'll share it later this week. If not, it will be early next week, and that will go out on social, and I'll share it to all of you as well who via Zoom, so you'll see that come through. This is the end of our session now, so I will be closing the webinar shortly, but we will be around a little bit, so any last minute questions, throw them in. Thank you very much again, Judith, for sharing your expertise with us, and thanks everybody for joining us. Hope you enjoyed the session. Please follow us on social. We've got some more workshops and events coming up, and we would love to have you all join us again. Thanks so much. Have a lovely evening. Thanks. Bye.